Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day to all. Alright, I'm Ahmad, Rasdan, Ismail. I'm going to lead you to the real world of research methodologies. How we're going to do the research in the real sense, in the most effective way. Alright, so since this is the core things, the core of these particular subjects is about the conducting research. Of course, if you are talking about yourself as the postgraduate studies concerns, this is adult learning study environments, you couldn't run away from the concept of doing the research in the most proper way. Alright, so therefore, this so-called course or the module have been designed in MID, Masters in Innovation and Design, the one and only program that is combining the whole concept of research in one place, which is formed under the subject, Research Methodology and AES 50503. That I will be the coordinator for this particular subject. So, why I'm telling that this kind of MID is one and only of its kinds in Malaysia at least. It is where you can find out that the various methodology of research from engineering perspective, from technical perspective, inclusive as well the heritage studies, humanities studies, the social science studies, and art studies will be incorporated together, and whereby you will be in a similar class and changing each idea from various perspectives of the discipline of knowledge. Alright, so in this class, in this research methodology class, is not only focusing like the previous RM in most of university or IPTs in Malaysia, whereby if you are talking about doing your masters in design engineering example, you're going to be expose yourself to the field of technicalities. But in this MID, Master Innovation and Design, in the RM class per se, you will meet with your colleague. You will learn about the methodology of qualitative part as well as the quantitative parts. Alright, your friends will be from various disciplines of knowledge. Your friend might be a good photographer. He himself is from the photographer, excellent photographer. You yourself can be the technologist at the same time, and another of your colleague at the same time, also the heritage researchers examples. Alright, so this is where the whole principle, those that love into the design, will be pulled together under one roof. And then in the research methodology class, you will be exposed every aspects of the design criteria related to the field of interest. And in this subject, in this RM subject, I call it RM, it's not a Ringgit ratios, but it's a research methodology subjects. We try to combine the whole two concepts of the research simultaneously for this particular subject, whereby you're going to discuss on the quantitative parts of research methodology. I'm putting big RM there. Of course, it will attract the monies there as a research methodology is concerned. And then there's another part is the qualitative part. Alright. I will ensure that by the end of the semesters in the RM, you will be exposed to what is this too. Not only if you are talking about you are as a technologist, you might in love in the quantitative part. Alright, and you will in love in this. This is what your intention is. But those who are in the social sciences, arts, and humanity, you might want it at this particular area of arts. Right? So, but then in these particular subjects, the trick and the uniqueness of the RM for this particular program is that they incorporate on the quantitative part, the balance between the quantitative part as well as qualitative part. You couldn't find out. This is not something that you can find out in most of the postgraduate school in Malaysia. Alright, so in this particular program, especially in this particular course on modules in the research methodology, we will combine the two schools of thoughts together under one roof. The subjects will not only delivered by myself, the technologist guy, but also with my colleague from the multimedia research perspective, from the heritage researcher perspective, and from my colleague from the education, especially methodologies or paradox. Then there is also some of my colleagues who share the thoughts on the research related to the photography, as well as to textile design, my colleague fashion designers, how the methodologies is actually differ from each other. So in this particular subjects, you will be exposed to various scopes of research methodologies, not only looking to the your current understandings of the research methodologies, but also to the whole spectrum of research methodology. Right? As what I mentioned here in this particular RM for the research methodology for the AD 503. Alright. So this is not only localized to, of course, we are talking about the research quantitative and the research of the qualitative. But in the real sense, there are a lot of other methodologies that we may incorporate in the whole in the betweens. So this one, I just want to give you some insight on how this particular subject is really unique as compared to the particular programs that we do have. Alright, so of course this particular RM will be coordinated in 3 hours, but the lecturer of this particular RM is invited from various fields. They will share based on the designs of the subject that we have approved. Alright, it will definitely sharing the perspective of the research in their way of doing things. Alright, so the aspect of the objective is that to facilitate you when in what the design that you want or you love to do. It is conducively on how you want to get the informations, not only from the technical perspective, not only from the humanity perspective, not only from the arts perspective, but these three elements will be incorporated in the research methodologies. Alright, so basically this particular research study on the research methodology subjects, you will be in various groups. Alright, of course it will be the inline. You're going to also come up with the project basis, alright, which is the combinations of the knowledge that you are obtaining from the lectures, from the sharing sessions, from those who are in the real industry or design field. It can be from the multimedia designing, it can be from the product design, it can be from the humanity of the design, and also it goes also to the textile designs and the whole spectrum of design. Example to the multimedia design at the same time. Alright, so it will be conducively representing the overall manifestations of how we want to conduct the research in our perspective of design. Alright, so of course it is not an easy for us to combine this multi specialization under one roof, but Alhamdulillah we are in this particular program of MID, we are able to attract the whole energy, strength together to deliver and giving to you as much as possible the information on the design, on how to conduct the research in the most professional way. Alright, so of course in this particular RM, you not only being exposed to the lectures, to the sharing sessions by the industry, people who are really in the industry of design, but also in the laboratory base. And you will be exposed to the latest software that might help you, especially in the literature findings, introduction and the literature basis, literature review. Alright, it can be from the literature review on itself. There are going to be the simulations on the methodologies, how you're going to do it. Alright, the software. Alright, and the data analysis. Alright, so So this is what you're going to be exposed to. And then in the methodologies, we're going to explain you on how you're going to get the samples, right, and population. Alright, so in this particular case, there might be a certain contradiction way on how you get the samples, how you get the population. Alright, and of course, in this school, in this MIV, we are cherished between each other. We are cherishing each other, multi-expertise, multi-field of interest, multi-types of intentions of knowledge that we want to get through. So in this particular case, when we want to do the sampling might be in the quantitative part, sampling might be in the qualitative part. And again, if I can recap back to you, there are two different things between the research methodologies. Whether you want to go to the research quantitative, whereby it's about the methods that you utilize, so-called the quantitative, those methods that you can calculate, it can go to the numbers, it can go to the minimum and maximum values of certain parts. Alright, but if you are selecting to the qualitative part, of course you can also getting the informations from the interviewing sessions, alright, from extracting the informations from the books, from what you read. That's a part of the qualitative part as per se. The details of this method will be explained throughout the whole semesters when you took this subject. I can promise you that it will be a very mesmerized journey. Why? Because this subject will be coordinated with various schools of thought. Then from there, you are able to learn how the arts kind of thinking towards the research, how the expert in the multimedia of design thinking, how the technologies kind of thinking in when they want to do the research. Alright, how the changes on the selections of sampling and population between those that being designed, textile design example, as is compared, might be contradictions from the technologies research methodologies on how they selecting the samples or population. But this is some of the things that make it the research methodology class, which is this particular class, will be more colorful, and we are accepting the changes. We are open our heart to select the various changes, as what we are doing here, and most of your lecturers did in this particular MID program. Alright, so we are expecting that the outputs from this research methodology, that you are adaptable to the various methods of research methodology. Sometimes we have to go to the qualitative part, and at the same time also we are governing the quantitative part, which is very rare of the researchers are able to master both research method together. Alright, so that gap that we have found out through our market survey, through our observations. As myself, I'm a technologist. I've been in the two social school, although my background is engineering before, but for the past 10 years I already in the art school and I already in the management school. So that we find out the gap between the postgrad that might not have the understanding on the qualitative part. If you go to the technical technical schools, you might miss the qualitative part. If you go to the arts and humanity as well as social science school, you might miss the quantitative part. So that's how we find out the gaps. So from that, we create our strength to design this module of research methodology in such a way to map with that kind of gap that we have established. Alright, so this is where the difference is being cherished each other. We are conveying each other in this particular subject. So we do expect those that undergo with the RM or research methodology subject for MID will able to cater in any possible research that they are required to do. Any required data that they need to find out. Any required sampling or populations or respondent that they need to find out when they want to initiate any of the research studies. Alright, so that is the overall intention of the subject. it will be, I'm telling you that this RM will. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good day to all. Alright, I'm Ahmad, Rasdan, Ismail. I'm going to lead you to the real world of research methodologies. How we're going to do the research in the real science in the most effective way. Alright, so since this is the core things, the core of these particular subjects is about the conducting research. Of course, if you are talking about yourself as the postgraduate study is concerned, it's an adult learning study environments, you couldn't run away from the concept of doing the research in the most proper way. Alright, so therefore, this so-called course or the module have been designed in MID, Masters in Innovation and Design, the one and only program that is combining the whole concept of research in one place, which is formed under the subject, research methodology and AES 50503. That I will be the coordinator for this particular subject. So why I'm telling that this kind of MID is one and only of its kinds in Malaysia, at least. It is where you can find out that the various methodology of research from engineering perspective, from technical perspective, inclusive as well the heritage studies, humanities studies, the social science studies,